राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोधनंदन ब्रजजनरंजन। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जयो राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद विदाय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल विदाय गौर हरि बोल जय विष्णुपाद ब्रह्म सब परिभ्रजराज स्तोत्र श्रेष्ठ अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासुदेव गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद हरि गोवर्धन की जय हरि भूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय माया धाम की जय पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथ के धाम की जय गंगा मैया यमुना मैया की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेद गौर भक्तवृंद की जय कलियो पावन हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all the Sesame devotees, all the Sesame devotees, all the Sesame devotees, always, 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 Shri 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 Hare Krishna. I'll again share the basic premise behind our discussion. One of the beautiful verse in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarvashraya Pratishloke Pratyakshare Nanarthakaya. Srimad-Bhagavatam is as great as Krishna, Supreme Lord and Shelter of everything. In each and every verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and in each and every syllable, there are various meanings. Krishna Swamidhamokapagate Dharma Jnana Visaha. Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swadhamokapagate. He left for his supreme abode, Dharma Jnana Visaha. But he left along with Dharma Jnana. Kalau Nashta Shamesham Purana. Then what happened? Udaka. Then there was the rising of Srimad Bhagavatam to help Karo Kalau Nashta. Very, very unfortunate situation we see in this country, where even to speak about Sanatan Dharma, which actually facilitates the well-being of all living beings, is considered a taboo. So can you imagine uh, you know, being completely driven by the material modes of nature, especially the senses of the body is considered completely scientific. But anything that helps control senses and make you very resourceful for the society at large is considered to be a deviant. Ahem. Especially when the regulation of the senses is being guided by the time-tested scriptures. So therefore, Nashtadrisha, I mean, we all are witnessing this day in and day out. Completely uh, a society which is falling into pieces. Yet, what we can be see, feeling disappointed with what goes around us is very natural. But one should never get frustrated. Why? Because Purana, Krishna had Swadham Pukate, he left. Here, the Srimad-Bhagavatam ascended. So therefore, if Srimad-Bhagavatam ascended in lieu, in some sense, in lieu of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, here also in this beautiful purport, Prabhupada writes, when Srila Vyasadeva saw the anomalies, people in the age of Kali are too much interested in matter which is temporary. Because of ignorance, they are unable to evaluate essence of life and be enlightened in spiritual knowledge. They don't even know what is good for them. But this happens from time to time. This happened when Prahlad Maharaj had to tell his own father, Nate Viduswartha Nate. Hiranyakashipu was like a big ruler compared to any of the rulers today. What is Russia? What is Biden? What is so these are puny compared to what Hiranyakashipu was. And to him, Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj had to say, Nadev is Swartha. You don't know what is your own Swartha. So, in the last few classes, we were discussing the division of the Vedas into the Samhita portion, which is the mantras. In some sense, you can also associate Samhitas, mantras with Brahmacharya, the stage. Now, it is not that the stages don't overlap. So, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, so the relevance of Samhita remains even in Grahastha ashram. And Aranyaka and Upanishad, which is about Vanaprastha ashram and Sannyas. Samhita, Brahmana for the Grihasthas, Aranyaka and Upanishad. Roughly, so right for helping. We were discussing in, and we discussed the Samhitas. Um, we gave the example of Brahma Samhita, Samhitas and Brahmanas, they constitute kind of the Karma Kanda. The Aranyakas constitute Upasana Kanda, and the Upanishads constitute Jnana Kanda. So, the Upanishads pertain more to the stage of this and chat. The Upanishads, they kind of talk about the culmination. Of course, Bhagavad Gita is Gita Upanishad, Ro Upanishad, Ro Gao. So there is a kind of emphasis on a particular wing of the Vedas for different stages in life. Now, among the Samhitas, we had said that there are some very prominent Samhitas, and especially the between the 128 suktas of the Rig Veda Samhita, some suktas are very popular and they are referred to by the readers of the Vedas. So, one of them we said is Nasadiya Sukta, and I had referred you to this very detailed sukta. Now, Nasadiya Sukta, I had told you, has also been adapted for an instant by the National Institute of Open Schooling for explaining the process of creation. But it's very detailed, has a detailed description there, where we talked about the different phases. The Srishti the cause of creation. Then there is a description of the Karuna of the Parampurusha. This is the structure here. Right? Srishti then, then there is Srishti Vichara, Srishti, the notion of Asat and Sat, and Srishti Bijam, the seed of Srishti, and the process of creation, Srishti Prakriya, the transformation of Sat. to also create this, the foundation of what is asat. So this is a space what we had discussed in the last where we had left off. Now what we'll do is pick on this from Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is very interesting. How these points have been also elaborated in Srimad-Bhagavatam. But the beauty of Srimad-Bhagavatam is that it is a direct emphasis on Krishna. That rasa, which a bhakta very desperately seeks. Like the Prabhupada was playing around with Saraswati, the daughter of Ramsundar Pawan Malti Bhatta. He gifted a Krishna, Krishna Murti, and then a Krishna doll. And then Prabhupada hid it from her. He was searching, where's Krishna, where's Krishna? And that the seeking of Krishna in the process of creation, very explicitly, is seeking of rasa with Krishna. You see, seeking with Krishna, you want to see that your Supreme Personality of Godhead is, when we talk about Karuna, like we said, there is Srishti Karanam, there is Karuna, compassion. Now, compassion may be there as a Mula Uddesha, right? As sometimes we, children, our children, we experience that with our own case. We may, हम उनके लिए शायद अच्छी व्यवस्थाएं बनाते होंगे. क्या व्यवस्थाएं होंगी? चलो वो अच्छी तरह शिक्षा ले, उनके लिए शिक्षा व्यवस्था बनाएंगे, एक गुरुकुल व्यवस्था बनाएंगे, कोई उनके लिए भोजन भी ऐसा बनाए कि स्वादिष्ट भी रहे और पौष्टिक भी रहे. ये सब तो ठीक है, पर बच्चों को अंततोगत्वा क्या देखना है कि क्या मेरे माता पिता मेरे साथ प्रेमपूर्ण व्यवहार कर रहे हैं. ये भी व्यवस्था, तो दी होल नासवीय सूक्त talks about the vyavastha based on the compassion of the Lord. Of vyavastha based on the Lord's compassion. But Srimad Bhagavatam, very interestingly, and when we say but, we should be very careful. It doesn't in any way minimize the glory of the scriptures. We'll go into the Samhitas, for example. We'll go into a lot of details in this regard. Right? The Srimad Bhagavatam focus is different. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam can be studied in the light of the scriptures. The scriptures can be Samhitas, Nasriya Sukta, for example, can be studied in the light of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because there may be more elaboration on certain concepts in some of those Samhitas. So therefore, they become very important. Elaboration becomes important. If you want to generate textbooks here, it becomes important to refer to those details as well. For the devotees, what yours, what attracts their hearts is focus on Krishna. So here is it. Bhuya eva vivitsami bhagavan atmamaya yathedam sujate vishwam durvibhavyam dhishvaraihi. How? By his personal energies, Bhagavan, Atma Maya. Look at this beautiful Bhagavan, Atma Maya. This is the key. It's create, which are inconceivable even to great demigods. And here Prabhupada writes in the purport. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises. Therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord through the spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is sarvagya. All inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. So you see this beautiful connection with Krishna coming out even in the inquiry. Now, We can go into great details on each topic, but what we'll do is we'll. I wanted to show you another beautiful Atman bhavayasi tani न पराभावयन् स्वयम् आत्मशक्तिमत् अवष्टभ्य पूर्णनाभि एवाक्लमः. Again, beautifully described. And this now look at who's speaking this. Okay. Atman, by self. Bhavayase tani, all those. Na parabhavayan, swayam, yourself. Please look at this. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam is so interesting because there's conversation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead going on here. And he is being referred. How? As a spider very easily creates a network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others. The spider you may try and somebody may try and interfere. There may be some wing. There will, the spider is sometimes making a nest, a web. I've seen sometimes children trying to sprinkle some water. Now, the spider might get a little disturbed, but it is not defeated by others. It continues. This here is being said, so you also, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any others' help. And Prabhupada, of course, in the purport, he says the best example of self-sufficiency is the sun. Now, can anyone guess why you is being spoken? Who is speaking this? Who is speaking this? And to whom? Hmm? Beautiful. Anyone? Can you hear my question?
Narad Muni is related to Brahma.
Sorry.
It is a conversation between Narad Muni and Brahma.
Narad Muni.
Narada is referring to Brahma here.
Wow. So now look at the rasa in Srimad Bhagavatam. Narad Muni is telling Brahmaji, hey Brahma, hey my father is referring to his father. What is the source of your knowledge? He's asking him. Under whose protection are you standing? Okay, so let's go to the previous verse. Yad vijnano yadadharo yat parastvam yadatmakah ekas srajati bhutani bhutairevatmayaya. What is the source? Yad vijnana. Where do you get your knowledge? Yadadhara. Under whose protection are you standing? Yat para. Under whose subordination are you working? Tvam. Tvam. So Tvam is like tum. Of course, there's a lot of respect that Narad Muni has towards Brahmaji. However, when there's some poetic freedom exercised, then Tvam is used. It's not tum. I will be a little careful. Tvam is still very respectful. And the whole Sanskritam is very refined. Even even hers abuses or even curses are very refined. Words can have multiple meanings, as we saw in that Chaitanya Charitamrita verse itself. There's so many meanings and dimensions to it. So, Tvam, Yadatmakaha. What's your position upon him? Ekasmyasi Bhutani. Do you alone create all entities within material elements by your personal energy? Get this. Right? This now entire creation is being spoken towards the glorification of the Supreme Lord, but through a conversation between Narada asking his father Brahmaji. And let's look at what his father replied. But let's look at what Prabhupada has to say. The purport. It was known to Sri Brahma, Narada Muni, that Lord Brahma attained creative energy by undergoing severe austerities. As such, he could understand there was someone superior to Brahmaji who invested Brahma with the power of creation. Therefore, he asked all the above questions. This is the beauty of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Creation is not just being presented as a set of facts. It's coming out of sincere inquiry, out of understanding the or appreciating the relative position of very powerful personalities in this world coming from their own mouth. You heard of Brahma Samhita. Here is another instance of Brahma Samhita. Ask all these other questions. Discoveries of progressive scientific achievements are therefore not independent. Scientists may conclude at some point. Narada Muni is saying, yeah, here, but he's not concluding at that point. He is inquiring further. Scientists has to attain the knowledge of a thing already existing by means of the powerful brain made by someone else. Scientists can work with the help of such an awarded brain, but it is not possible for the scientist to create his own or a similar brain. Therefore, no one is independent in the matter of any creation, nor is such creation automatic. Beautiful purport. Just relish every word here. And it is in this context that in the next, now the Uranabhi example is given in many scriptures. You understand, right? The spider example is provided in most Vedic scriptures, making those points in the chat. Uh, but look at the Srimad Bhagavatam. The example is provided by whom? Example is provided in the context of Brahmaji, who will do what? What do you think Brahmaji will do? Does he say yes? Everything concludes with me. Anyone? Hare Krishna.
Brahmaji tells about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the further conversations, he reveals that
Yes, that is the
he's
beauty of
getting it.
this is the rasa of creation, right? It's the rasa of creation in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not just explained as a bunch of facts. Like we may organize everything for our children in a factual manner, but the mood is being brought out. In fact, he's confirming. Is it not that everything is being created from your law, other than you, thou so great? Right? We are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities. He's saying, no, ठीक है, you create, but you yourself do some austerities. स भवान चरत घोरम यत तप सुसमाहितः. The most interesting part that no matter who you are in this universe, if you want to play a role complementing the Supreme Personality of Godhead's design, you also perform tapa. Your tapa is what is attracting. Yat tapa susamahitaha, in perfect discipline, right? Your meditation, perfect discipline. What is the reason for that? There must be someone beyond you. Move to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you. This is the key. So, and Prabhupada, of course, says, following the footsteps of Sri Narada Muni, one should not blindly accept his spiritual master as God himself. I mean, we know how Srila Prabhupada, when he introduced hippies, totally lost people, the Supreme Lord, to not the Supreme Lord, to themselves. Right? One is to introduce to someone else. But the hippies, they had no idea who they were. Here is the mirror. This is what you are. This is how beautiful you are. You want to be eternal? You want to be high? You are high. Very high. Close to the highest. Because you are part and parcel of the highest. But that highness cannot be artificially attained through your drugs that highness can be delighted. So, sometimes people who come out of this they are very grateful, and and sometimes his gratitude can take a different turn. Um, some of his disciples started saying, no, actually, Srila Prabhupada is God himself. They created a movement. He doesn't want to reveal, but actually, he's God. And Prabhupada, what a statement he says. I mean, here is Brahmaji, but Prabhupada is making this point so clear. He, he practiced everything he's writing here. Srila Prabhupada practiced it in the movement. How grateful we can be to him, right? So, a spiritual master is duly respected, but a spiritual master claiming to be God himself should be once rejected. So, now, um, Etar mein, the entire verse can be discussed at great length. I'm now going back to the focus of creation. All these are very important, right? You have the controller, please instruct so that I can understand as a student. So, Brahma Vach, Samyak, perfect. Samyak Karunikasjedam. You're very kind. See, the words you have spoken, even in appreciation of me, are very kind. You're being very magnanimous, charitably disposed towards me to speak like this. Look at Brahmaji, right? This, the there's so much humility infused into the process of creation. This is Srimad-Bhagavatam. I would request all devotees to relish this. Uh, yes, the facts are important. So therefore, the Srimad-Bhagavatam is not in no way minimizing the glories. Sometimes we think to be special, you have to minimize someone else. You see how Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit of the Vedic literature, is in fact glorifying the process of creation in other scriptures, not minimizing. Right? So, can someone read this beautiful purport? I'm putting the link. Can someone read this? Can you see the screen or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Can
please
you
read. Please read. Yeah, so beautiful. I put the link again.
directly the purport?
Translation and purport.
Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Purport. Brahmaji, being so questioned by Naradaji, congratulated, for it is usual for the devotees to become very enthusiastic whenever they are questioned concerning the Almighty Personality of Godhead. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Such discourses on the transcendental activities of the Lord purify the atmosphere in which such discussions are held, and the devotees thus become enlivened while answering such questions. It is purifying both for the questioners and for one who answers the questions. The pure devotees are not only satisfied by knowing everything about the Lord, but are also eager to broadcast the information to others, for they want to see that the glories of the Lord are known to everyone. Thus, the devotee feels satisfied when such an opportunity is offered to him. This is the basic principle of missionary activities. Guruji, you're on mute.
Hare Krishna. Look at the way Prabhupada opens the purport. Brahmavi is being so questioned by Naraji, congratulated him for it. So usual for devotees to become very enthusiastic. Whenever they have a question concerning the Almighty Personality of God, congratulated him. So he didn't dismiss him. But what happens? People who want themselves to be glorified, they congratulate and then they say, what you said is all right. He congratulated the enthusiasm, but corrected it factually, right? But corrected facts. This is the this is the purity of this conversation. So what did he say? Na nritvam tava tacchapi yathamam prabhavish me bhoho avijnaya param matta etavatvam yato hime. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false. Na anritam tava. Anritam. Rita means truth. Anritam means false. Why? Because yatha, unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. तो मतलब सम एक अध्याय बचा है आपका, वो अध्याय खुला नहीं है, इसलिए आप पिछले अध्याय पे अटक गए। नारद मुनि को ऐसे बोल रहे हो, नारद मुनि, किस नारद मुनि को ये बोल रहे हैं? जिस नारद मुनि ने क्या किया था? लेट्स गो बैक टू दिस एंटायर this again, look at rasa. This is Shila Veda Vyasa compiled the scriptures, Chaturhotra. And then what is he doing? After all of this has been revealed and divided, Vyasa, like, many disciples, grand disciples, and then what happened? Was he was despondent. Still his mind was not. And who helped satisfy his mind? It was Narada Muni. He was inquiring, contemplating, and Narad Muni, he helped him compose himself back. Narada, the same Narada which you refer, right? Same Narada who infused. Can someone read this purport? Yeah, please read this. Hare Krishna, can someone read?
Should I read or someone else?
Yeah, someone else can read. Hare Krishna.
Translation and perspective. As mentioned before, Narada reached the cottage of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa on the banks of the Saraswati just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defeat. Perfect. The vacuum felt by Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord to which the monists have no access. The monist is not counted amongst the Paramhamsas, the most perfect of the renounced order of life. Srimad-Bhagavatam is full of narrations of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Although Vyasadeva was an empowered divinity, he still felt dissatisfaction because in none of his works were the transcendental activities of the Lord properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt the vacuum as explained above. It is definitely expressed herewith that without the transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible without any separate attempt at fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculation.
The transcendental loving service of the Lord, which was emphasized by Narad Muni, he is, it's, of course, one can say it's Leela. And Leela is feeling ignorance and being corrected, but happily being corrected by Brahmaji, who is again very respectfully enlightening him. Right? So, of course, in the purport Prabhupada says the frog in the well logic illustrates that a frog residing in the atmosphere and boundary of a well cannot imagine the length and breadth of the gigantic ocean. Such a frog, when informed of the gigantic length and breadth of the ocean, first of all does not believe that there is such an ocean. And this Nyaya is used so many times in the scriptures. Right? But now Srimad Bhagavatam, this embodied knowledge, you're learning it through a pastime. You're learning it through rasa. You're learning it through interactions filled with emotions. Amanitvam, adambitvam, arjavam, simplicity, and the propensity not to expect respect, but to give respect. You see that all happening. Brahmaji is giving respect to the Supreme Lord. Narad Muni is giving respect to Brahmaji. Brahmaji is giving respect to Narad Muni. Yet, he is speaking truth. All of that. So now, so we see, we in creation, in the process of creation, in Srimad-Bhagavatam, what are we seeing? We're seeing all Vaishnava etiquettes. There's no dryness at all. What are the we'll continue seeing how Vaishnava etiquettes are most beautifully being crafted out, because without compromising on truth, one should adhere to Vaishnava etiquettes. It cannot be just sentiments, dry sentiments. But the sentiments should not be uh, again feigned. They should be very genuine, and that's what we find here. So let's look at what he continues, right? And of course, a beautiful purport. This frog in the well is something it's taught in all gurukulas traditionally, and this is a nyaya. Basically, um, Prabhupada would say Kupa Manduka Nyaya. This is one of the statements of logic, and it applies at every sphere. So creation, it can apply even when you're trying to establish justice in a courtroom. Like if a king, it's important. The king, therefore, a king is not supposed to just met out a decision sitting in the courtroom. The king sometimes goes. He disguises himself. He goes within the subjects. King doesn't just send people, right? He actually descends, goes around people. He senses. He feels the pulse. Because when you go there, even what what you have heard 100 of times, you start go into the field and sense people around you. Only a thought process. You you go to your hostels, right, and you see people are in stress, and then you see the glory of the Mahamantra, the glory of the scriptural teachings from a very different light. So that's very important to go amongst people. So there also the Skupa Manduka Nyaya is given. But then look at beautifully how Prabhupada has stitched this uh, here. He says, whatever you have spoken about me is not false. And when the frog thinks that the well is very big, I was having this discussion with children from our Vidyalaya where we teach. Those conversations are so nice with children. So I brought this up. Kupa Manduka Nyaya, we just talk about how big the well is. And the one बच्चे ने बोला, गुरुजी वास्तव में तो कुएं में इतना पानी रहता है, वो छोटा सा जो मंडूक है उसको तो बहुत बड़ा ही दिखेगा, उससे उससे बड़ा को होगा, कोई होगा, वो कैसे सोचेगा? I mean, it's so interesting coming from a child. Huh? We may just dismiss it off as some side point, right? It is a very very deep. This nyaya is very deep, and he's saying the same thing. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, because unless and until one is aware, you have to have gone to the ocean. तो समुद्र से आया हुआ कोई बताए कूपमंडूक को, तो शायद थोड़ा समझेगा, किंतु वास्तव में उसको थोड़ा अनुभव, तो निश्चित रूप से इस विषय का को आत्मसात कर पाएगा. Because one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activity. That's beautiful, right? So we'll just go to the next. I'll request some other devotee to read. I'll read the words. येन स्वरोचिषा विश्वं रोचितं रोचयाम्यहं यथो यथार्कोऽग्निर्यथा सोमो यथर् यथर्क्षग्रहतारकाः. Riksha is the entire firmament, the sky. Graha and Taraka. Can someone read this?
Haribol Prabhuji. I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence known as the Brahma Jyoti, just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness. Purport. Lord Brahmaji said to Narada that his impression that Brahma was not the supreme authority in the creation was correct. Sometimes less intelligent men have the foolish impression that Brahma is the cause of all causes. But Narada wanted to clear the matter by the statement of Brahmaji the supreme authority in the universe. As the decision of the Supreme Court of a state is final, similarly, the judgment of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe, is final in the Vedic process of acquiring knowledge. As we have already affirmed in the previous verse, Narada-ji was a liberated soul. Therefore, he was not one of the less intelligent men who accept a false god or gods in their own ways. He represented himself as less intelligent and yet intelligently presented a doubt to be cleared by the supreme authority so that the uninformed might take note of it and be rightly informed about the intricacies of the creation and the creator. In this verse, Brahmaji clears up the wrong impression held by the less intelligent and affirms that he creates the universal variegatedness after the creation by the glaring effulgence of Lord Sri Krishna. Brahmaji also separately given has also separately given this statement in the Samhita known as Brahma Samhita 5.40, where he says, Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishvasheshu vasudhadi vibhuti binnam tad brahma nishkalam ananta shesha bhutam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the primeval Lord whose transcendental bodily effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomed, and all pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited number of planets, etc., with varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. The same statement is in the Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Lord Krishna is the background of the Brahma Jyoti. Brahmano hi pratishtham, pratishtaham. In the Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, the import of pratishta is mentioned as that which establishes. So the Brahma Jyoti is not independent or self-sufficient. Lord Sri Krishna is ultimately the creator of the Brahma Jyoti, mentioned in this verse as Swarochisha, or the effulgence of the transcendental body of the Lord. This Brahmajyoti is all pervading, and all creation is made possible by its power. Therefore, the Vedic hymns declare that everything that exists is being sustained by the Brahmajyoti. Sarvam Khalav Idam Brahma. Therefore, the potent seed of all creation is the Brahma Jyoti, and the same Brahma Jyoti, unlimited and unfathomed, is established by the Lord. Therefore, the Lord Sri Krishna is ultimately the supreme cause of all the creations. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. One should not expect the Lord to create like a blacksmith with a hammer and other instruments. The Lord creates by his potencies. He has his multifarious potencies. Parasya Shaktir Vidadaiva Shruyate. Just as a small seed of a banyan fruit has the potency to create a big banyan tree, the Lord disseminates all varieties of seeds by his potent Brahmajyoti, Swarochisha, and the seeds are made to develop by the watering process of persons like Brahma. Brahma cannot create. Brahma cannot create the seeds, but he can manifest the seed into a tree, just as a gardener helps plants and orchards to grow by watering process. The example cited here of the sun is very appropriate. In the material world, the sun is the cause of all illuminations fire, electricity, the rays of the moon, etc. All luminaries in the sky are creations of the sun. The sun is the creation of the Brahma Jyoti, and the Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of the Lord. Thus, the ultimate cause of creation is the Lord.
Hare Krishna. It's an ecstatic purport. So here's an exercise. Please list all the analogies provided here so beautifully by Srila Prabhupada in the context of creation. So I hope everyone was let's type it out. I'll also type it out here. What are all the analogies Prabhupada presented here? This purport. So many analogies actually. Hare Krishna. First analogy, Mataji, you can also do it. I know you read it, but everyone can. This is sharing our ecstatic reading of the purport. Hare Krishna. Mataji, want to get started? What are the analogies given here?
I can see
Oh,
two analogies here. One
okay.
is blacksmith with his hammer and other
You have typed it. Okay, okay.
yeah.
Watering of plants by gardener.
Yeah.
There was one more. There's a there's also the seed. Yeah, watering of plant by the gardener, but beginning with the seed, right? Before that, and then there's this Brahma Jyoti. I think in that context, Prabhupada gave the example of sun. So the potent seed of all creation, the Brahma Jyoti, same Brahma Jyoti, unlimited and unfathomable, is established by the Lord. The seed and its connection with Brahma Jyoti, right?
Yes. I actually found it very beautiful when he says that Brahmaji is the creator. The uninformed might feel that Brahmaji is the creator of all creators, but he cannot create the seed. He can manifest the seed into a beautiful tree, but the seed has to be created by Lord Krishna, the
Aham
Supreme
Bija
Lord.
Pratita. Beautiful. And also all illuminations is Kaya creation of the sun. The sun is a creation of the Brahma Jyoti. And the Brahma Jyoti is effulgence of the Lord. So I won't say it's an analogy, but Prabhupada also is helping us relate, right?
Yeah.
The creation as we see. I mean, we may not be able to perceive Brahmachari Jyoti directly, but you can, because all luminaries are creations of the sun. The sun is a creation of the Brahmajyoti. The sun illuminates everything else. The sun is a creation of the Brahmajyoti. So Prabhupada is also helping us. That's Yat Chakshuresh Savita Sakala Grahana. So now let's go to these beautiful verses. I won't now read the purports. What is he saying next? Tasmai namo bhagavate vasudevaya धीमहि यन्माया दुर्जया माम वदंती जगद्गुरु. जिनकी माया से लोग मुझे जगत गुरु कहते हैं, उन भगवान को मैं प्रणाम कर रहा हूँ. वो आई मीन इफ जिन्हें थोड़ी संस्कृत पता हो, इतना आनंद का विषय है जिस जिस प्रकार वो श्लोक की रचना कर रहे हैं. मतलब इसमें भगवान की स्तुति है, अपनी अपनी दीनहीन स्थिति भी बता रहे हैं और प्रकाशित भी कर रहे हैं लोगों को कि आपको क्या करना चाहिए. जन माया दुर्जया इन और माया उनके ऐसे नहीं है, बहुत बहुत समटाइम्स वी राइट वी थिंक ओके अल्टीमेट समबडी इज ग्लोरीफाइंग अस, वी थिंक घूम फिर के समझ में तो आया इस विषय को, व्यक्ति को मेरा गुणगान करने लगा. बट यहाँ कह रहे हैं कि अरे घूम फिर के वही माया में फंस गया इसलिए मेरा गुणगान कर रहा है. You see the different perspectives. When someone appreciates us, we think ultimately this person has appreciated, understood what I am. Are you saying ultimately the person has fell in the trap of Maya and thinking me as independent from Krishna? So, of course, each purport is so beautiful. I think this is beautiful verses, and I don't want to, you know, uh, not complete those today. So he says, the illusion of the Lord cannot take precedence, being ashamed of her position. But those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of scientist mind. Now he's also referring to Maya Devi. which of course Brahma Samhita. See the connection. Also, that could be an interesting exercise. Relating what Brahmaji speaks in Brahma Samhita is what he's speaking here in the series of verses. What is her position? Maya Devi's position. That she has to cover people. She is ashamed of her position. Those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense. And in the previous verse is already used a very important yan mayaya durjayaya. Mayaya durjayaya. This one. So, um, in fact, Prabhupada says that will be there in the next verse. But then you can just read this very briefly. Um,
I
extremely
offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the supreme controller. Purport: as will be more clearly explained in the next verse, the illusory potency of the Lord bewilders the less intelligent to accept Brahmaji, or for that matter any other person, as the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji, however, refuses to be called this, and he directly offers his respectful obeisances unto Lord Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, as he has already offered the same respects to him in the Brahma Samhita 5.1, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam.
Yeah. So
Should
now
I continue?
we can. I'll go to the next verse. So here, thank you, Mataji, for reading. So you can see this the illusory energy of the Lord is being discussed, um, which he of course again talks about in the Brahma Samhita we discussed earlier. Then he goes on to discuss the five elementary creations, elementary ingredients of creation. Bhumirapo navo vayu, ham mano buddhi. It was dravyam. So there's an entire, the scriptures talk about Padartha Vigyan. I'll come to that very soon. Now, the Padartha Vigyan is very important. I mean, one cannot, you know, one cannot, I would say, trivialize the Padartha Vigyan because that for Gurukul systems, for example, that is the basis of science. But here, the Padarthas have been brought up in a way that makes persons very Krishna conscious. Dravyam karma cha karkalhascha swabhava jiva eva cha. Five elementary ingredients, interactions are all what? Vasudeva Parha Brahman. They are all Vasudeva from the Supreme Lord. There is parts and parcels. But now what is he saying? In truth, there's no other value in them. See, seeking out Krishna, intensely seeking out Krishna, even in Padartha, this perspective in creation, right? So, um, I'm just intensely seeking out Krishna, even in Padartha. Okay, I will go a little bit onto Padarthas now, um, because it's important to know that it's a it's a big body of literature. But what is he saying? न चान्योतार्थस्ति तत्वतः उनमें कोई वैल्यू नहीं है कृष्ण से अलग देखे प्रत्यर्थम यत् प्रतीयेत न प्रतीयेत चात्मनि तद विद्यात्मनो माया यथा वासुदेव. He's saying the same point later on. Brahmaji Chatushloki Bhagavatam. He's making the same point. They're parts. They're all parts and parcels, and in truth, there's no value to them other than their connection with Krishna. Now, see this. Let me illuminate a little bit on what is this concept of Padartha. Um, just sending you the link to Dharma Wiki, because this is a big topic. Uh-huh. So Nyaya Darshan begins with there's a lot of exposition on the nature of an entity or substance. Right now, Padartha can be understood at different levels. When we see any object in this world, and unfortunately, the current system of science is only limited to the pada artha. Like you have pada, you decompose it. You see a telephone, right? You decompose it. There, you're more or less stuck today in modern science. You're only stuck with what? With Panchamahabhut. Now you can go subtler. And when there are instruments of right cognition, there's prameya, there's a pramana, there's a prameya, there's samshaya, there's prayojana, there's drishtanta, there's siddhanta. It's a very detailed topic of the whole Padartha Vigyan. Right? But what he is saying in one sentence here in this, we'll go into Padartha later on again. But he's saying actually correction. The rasa is correction of the Supreme Personality of God. This is the beauty of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it's important that we appreciate how Srimad-Bhagavatam lands up glorifying all the other scriptures. We just continue with one last verse. Narayana para Veda, Deva Narayanang Gajaha, Narayana para Loka, Narayana para Makhaha. So their entire body are made by and meant for both. Two things, made by and meant for the Supreme Lord. In fact, even the limbs that have been created are meant for serving the body. Planets are meant for the sake of the Lord. The sacrifices are meant to please Him. So now, Brahmaji, in his process of creation, yes, he's talking about the different elements, each of which takes you into a different route. No, universe in itself in the Vedas. So much detail. As I think, simple concept of Padartha, dissecting an object. Panchamahabhut is one aspect of Padartha. But the parts are meant to serve the whole. He's just reconciling, right? So if there are questions, we can take it now. We're already 8 a.m. I hope we can continue this, very, very enthusing discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam and connection with other scriptures. So if anyone wants to share question or comments, please do.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you for the lecture. I had one question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Like you were telling about the Vaishnava etiquette that we have to give respect, but at the same time speak about the truth. So, like a point arose in my mind that when we are put in a position of sharing and not instructing but guiding and sharing someone, so even though of course very respectfully and humbly, but even though some aspects of the philosophy are not palatable for the other person, should we still be emphasizing on it or let it go?
Let me just make sure I understand your question is, sometimes we are trying to present the truth to someone.
Mm.
Um, and the truth may not be palatable if presented in one way, right? You can
Mm.
present it or not. I think the answer you have also given, right? The Vaishnava etiquette is that yes, it may not be palatable if presented in one way, but it may be very palatable if presented in another way. What are the options, right? Here, because Narad Muni very sincerely was trying to, he already was hinting that someone is superior to you, but I can't see. You seem to be the most powerful. So Brahmaji said, no, no wonder. No, no. And where did he begin? Look at Brahmaji's beginning of this entire conversation. He began with saying that he appreciated. He said, I'll just go back, I put it on the notes also. Um,
The question where Narada asked Brahmaji, what is the source of your knowledge?
what is the source of your knowledge? Right, so we were discussing. Haha. So he's saying your question is befitting someone who's very inquisitive. Right? So he actually appreciated your question is very befitting. He appreciated the question. He appreciated Narada's point of view. But he also said that yes, it's not no wonder that some people think that I am supreme because that's how powerful Maya, the Supreme Lord's Maya is. So isn't it that this entire conversation highlights how the same truth has been presented in the most palatable manner with complete respect for the person asking the question, at the same time discerning truth from illusion, because he is giving respect to the sensitive inquisitiveness of Narada Muni. Isn't that the case?
Yes, maybe, I guess that's
So when someone
right.
asks question, we can the point of view from where the question is coming can be certainly appreciated. I would say even before appreciating, acknowledging, like what I tried doing. Like you asked a question, I tried acknowledging, I tried rephrasing your question, which means we also let that person go deeper into why that question has come up in the first place, or why a particular comment, or why a particular thought of you. The entire process of acknowledging and rephrasing makes the conversation go deeper beyond just words to purpose and intent. Right? We could do that. So, in fact, in one of the previous classes, we had a long discussion on this entire process of rephrasing. What a person speaks in words, unless we are connected very deeply, we may only perceive that the person's intentions very superficially. So here, of course, Brahmaji could perceive because he had a connection here, and he was very enlightened. We may not be that enlightened. But what we can do is become conscious of try to become conscious of the intent with which the question or a point has been made. It's not just the choice of words, but is it what you mean? Is this what you are intending to say? It could be a question, it could be a statement. But I just want to be clear, this is what you meant. Then we go deeper behind to the intention which we actually may start appreciating. Though we may not agree with the conclusion. Does that help? Uh, Suraj? So that engagement in a conversation and connecting deeper beyond what that person said. Most
Mhm.
fights happen, you said like this. But did we even try and rephrase and try to get to the intent? Is this what you said? This what you meant? No, 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 I didn't mean that. Let me clarify, right? The other person suddenly starts realizing that the words spoken were not with a lot of thought. Sometimes it happens. Right? Children, right? My younger daughter, sometimes she may complain that her, oh, दीदी ने ऐसे किया. So you go and say, अच्छा दीदी ने ऐसे किया, तुम्हें बहुत गुस्सा आ रहा है दीदी पर. हाँ, तो मैं दीदी को मारूं? No, 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 no. She doesn't want anyone to touch or scold because there's a they have a secret relation. She has a concern, she has an anxiety, she has an angst, but that is not a complaint. She expected different behavior from her sister. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right. Very beautiful. Anyone else?
Prabhuji, just want to make a point here. I find this conversation between Naradji and Brahmaji very, very instructive. Narada himself is a supreme transcendentalist. He has achieved, he has the personal darshan of the Lord and personal association of the Lord himself. He need not go to Brahmaji and ask him questions, but yet, in his humility, he goes to Brahmaji and asks him a question.
Right.
And Brahmaji has, attained such great powers. He is the creator of the entire universe. And he can, simply plagiarize and say, I'm so great, I'm supreme,
Right.
how it happens in the material world. But then it is so instructive that they are talking about the elevatedness of, I find the elevatedness of one's consciousness here, that he is directly giving credit to the Supreme Lord, and he is not boasting about himself at all here. So it's very, very instructive. And whenever we think we are intelligent, I think we need to look at the rishis who are providing us with that intelligence, and who are by their tapasya, by their austerities, giving us the intelligence, and think of ourselves as really very small and menial. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So my rephrasing of what you said is the most humbling conversation between two Paramahamsas, right?
Yeah,
You listen to it, you feel so humble and so nourishing. Actually, humbling and nourishing. Actually, humbling doesn't mean no, it pulverizes you, but it nourishes you, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I have the question following up to previous the devotee who had asked, saying that we know this there is someone who is very very concerned about us, a very good devotee, very caring, but when it just turns into basically um, pointing out mistakes that, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this, probably. So when the conversation absolutely turns out to be only every time the conversation becomes, you should be doing this, which kind of, like, as in conditioned soul, you have the false ego and you start thinking, why am I just have to hear this all the time rather than appreciation? Because then appreciation goes in the background, and the love kind of transforms into just all the time just telling that, okay, probably do this, do that, this is better, you should be doing this. How do we deal with that? And if we convey the message saying that, Prabhu, I'm okay, I'm okay, I can handle, but that might make them feel bad. So how do we deal with that kind of situation?
So your question, as I understand, is you as someone being corrected, right? Um,
Prabhu.
as hearing something from a person, it's becoming hurtful. You find it to be judgmental. Is that correct? You find statements being made to be somewhat judgmental. Um, maybe the context seems to be the context as you perceive seems to be lacking in what is being said, and at the same time, for you to um, be able to give a feedback or even respond might look very harsh, might look very very unpleasant, and it can create a roadblock in the conversation. Is that the uh, intent
Yes,
of what you're
Prabhu. You
saying?
see, basically what happens is that if I say that, Prabhu, it's a very, very tricky and a complex situation where you just can't tell that individual that, you know what, yes, I, I understand your concern. I acknowledge your concern, but I'm good because um, people see from their point of view, and sometimes it is difficult for them to understand from the other person's point of view. So, and in these times you only have with the times here we only have few devotees or we have few relationships which are pretty close, but then with over time it just becomes very difficult to give some senior feedback about how you can take the feedback yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just talking on a very personal level that I sometimes just cannot all the time keep taking feedback. It's like, just I feel that, okay, I need a break. I understand, but I need a break. So it's just very difficult to convey the message, because if I say that, then that person might think, oh, I care for him so much. That's what I'm saying. But then why is he saying that? So I get stuck in a situation where how do I tell? How do I convey this message? Do you know what I mean?
So what is it again? Let me make sure I understand. Um, so the entire perception seems to be based on what you thought the other person has said. Um, And you seem to be quite convinced about this is what the other person is trying to communicate, and it is certainly unpleasant, because there's a vantage point from where you have been attempting to improvise upon your experiences in life, your understanding of the situation, and understanding of
Mm,
scriptures, which seems to be lacking, or there seems to be lack of sensitivity from the other end too.
that's correct, Prabhuji.
So
Yes.
my suggestion here would be, instead of diving into justification, clarification, my suggestion is clarification from your point of view. You could just try and rephrase what the other person is saying. See, in life, it's important to take a little break from what you are versus what others are perceiving. You may not want to engage in further conversation with that person, but
Mm,
yet, what the other person has said, maybe the other person, see, ultimately, people are also sometimes succumbing to their circumstances. Person may be commenting based on the circumstances or the pressures that that person is under, or it could be that the articulation is very different from what you would have been able to assimilate. I would
right.
advise, just
Mm,
try and rephrase. Don't have to accept, don't have to agree, but just try and rephrase what the other person has said. It might help the other person also, uh, you know, um, think deeper about what she or he has said. It's just clearing the air, because words can be very different from the intentions and the meanings and the circumstances driving those words. So taking a pause, taking a break, dissociating your acceptance of what is being said from what the intent behind what is being said in the first place. So I have seen, very sometimes potentially very heavy and negative conversations grow into very mature conversations without any commitment to accept what the other person has said, but let each of them grow in their understanding of each other, of themselves and in the other person. If at the end of my conversation, I feel I have got a deeper insight into the other person and a deeper insight into myself. The conversation has left a healthy impression on my mind. The scriptures are squire scriptures, all conversations. And look at every. It's not. I'm see. By the way, it is not just about um, you know. In the next class, very uh, briefly, I will talk about Purusha Sukta also. All the scriptures are conversations. All scriptures without fail are conversations. Right? Why are they conversations? Because they these beautiful conversations of scriptures, by the time they're over, they have left a deep impact. They have grown. They are, wherever each of the individuals was, they've actually moved ahead. Narad Muni and Brahmaji were two enlightened personalities. But the end of the conversation is what? Narayana Paraveda, Deva Narayana Angaja. They become more Krishna conscious, right? So if we can set a goal for ourselves that the conversations we have in our life in this world, they leave a positive impression on the mind, then in some sense we are taking that inspiration from the scriptures. And one way I find we can make our conversations leave a positive impact on our mind, every conversation, not just with devotees, every other conversation, is when we move from just defending, responding to understanding. Just understanding. This is what you meant. This is what you had in mind. Oh, no, no, no. Actually, I meant this. Okay. You have moved one step ahead. You don't have to agree, but you have got a deeper glimpse of the other person, because the other person is a universe of herself or himself. What the baggage that other person is carrying, experiences, beautiful experiences, sometimes negative experiences the person is carrying, you get a deeper glimpse. And that makes you more sensitive. You without having you to agree. Does that help? Too?
yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Can we take that inspiration from the scriptures? That conversations. become sources of enlightenment.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Maybe we should conclude now, unless there's one last question. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Um, we will, what we'll do in the next verse, in the next discussion, we have kind of concluded. Of course, we can get into the process of creation in great detail, but we will kind of just in the next class recap this beautiful glorification of supreme personality of Godhead, and how many other suktas, Purusha Sukta, there is and then there is Hiranyagarbha Sukta, Vak Sukta. All of these are basically suktas are largely part of Samhita. So then there is Urvashi Pururava Samvada, Yamayami Samvada, there is Sarama and Pani Samvada, right? So all of these are there in the in fact, the second chapter, second canto, fourth chapter, verse number 9 of the Srimad-Bhagavatam also refers to these. So the next class, I will just kind of in 5-10 minutes just conclude that, and we'll go to the next section, the Brahmanas, the section of the Vedas, and there again we will bring out the perspective from Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, beautiful journey, what I believe. Hare Krishna. You all for your kind attention.
Thank you, bro. So far,
Yes, Prabhuji.
beautiful. Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhu. Gaura